Chris Mackowski for Emerging Civil War. I am at the Smithsonian Institution's Museum of American History in the Americans at War exhibit, The Price of Freedom. And behind me you'll see the stump from Spotsylvania Court House shot down by small arms fire on May 12, 1864. A member of the 1st South Carolina was in the traverse next to the tree when it toppled over sometime around or just after midnight. And he said he was literally covered with its limbs and leaves, but luckily sustained no further injury than the scraping of one of his ears by a small limb, although one of the heavy limbs of the tree struck a comrade, knocked him senseless. And I love all these bullets they have scattered around its base because it really underscores, like, what does it take to chop down a 22-inch oak tree with bullets, not artillery fire, but with bullets. And you study this tree up close and you just see how scarred it is even today. Philanthropist Edward Stewart, who preserved the core of the bloody angle, actually put up a marker at the spot of the oak tree, but today all that's left is the concrete base. The aluminum tablet disappeared long ago. Now the stump has a pretty cool story after the war, as the Army's marching back toward Washington, getting ready for the Grand Review. Nelson Miles' division of the 2nd Corps camps on the battlefield, and they go looking for the spot where the tree was knocked down. And they find the tree itself, and it's quickly hacked up into souvenirs, but they can't find this stump. And they search everywhere, and it's missing. So later that evening, they go into Spotsylvania Court House for dinner, and at the Spotswood Hotel, they ask the manager, like, hey, what happened to that stump? And he's like, oh, I don't know, not a clue. But then one of the servers comes up as the staff is leaving, and they say, the stump is actually in the smokehouse out back, which the proprietor had locked up. So Miles demands that they open up the smokehouse. The guy won't, so they tear it down. There's the stump. Miles refused to be stumped in his search, so they liberate the stump and take it back to Washington, where it's on display at the War Department for years. And eventually, in 1888, it gets donated to the Smithsonian Institution, where it remains on display today. One of the most fascinating and tangible reminders of just how horrific not only Spotsylvania Court House, but the entire war turned out to be. Now, the stump was my excuse to stop at the museum, but since we're there, let's take a look around the war exhibit. The Civil War portion is particularly cool, lots of really neat artifacts, and you're greeted by this crazy-ass picture of John Brown. I love this portrait of him. Total mad prophet of doom stuff. There are some pretty neat armaments on display. There are a series of rotating photos on video screens overhead that really highlight the way that photography shows off and chronicles the war for us. A neat little monitor and Merrimack or Monitor in Virginia model. A shout out to my colleague Dwight Hughes for his book, Unlike Anything That Ever Floated, about this clash at Hampton Roads. Medals of Honor, always cool. Mary Walker, first woman to win one. Dan Butterfield. Down here at the end, I got to give a shout out for my colleague Meg Grolan. We've got Francis Brownell. He's the guy who avenged the death of Eleanor Ellsworth, the first martyr for the North. Another really cool set of artifacts here would be furniture from Appomattox Courthouse. Robert E. Lee sat in that caned chair, Ulysses S. Grant sat in that upholstered chair, and Grant signed the terms on that small table. Of course, Grant's staff were like locusts and cleared the room out of its furniture, so the fact that this was ever recovered was kind of a small miracle. It's nice that the American public has it today. One of the ringleaders of that locust swarm was Phil Sheridan. His horse, Rienzi, renamed Winchester, is on display. Rienzi is just one of a handful of fully mounted horses on display in museums around the world. Of course, Little Sorrel from Stonewall Jackson being another that's on display at EMI. Overall, it is a really impressive first-class collection of stuff related to the Civil War, contextualized well within the history of American warfare, so well worth a stop at the Smithsonian Museum of American History.